Witch in the Wood by T.H. White, Chapter 12. It was beautiful, said Gareth. It ought not to have been killed. Now what are we to do? It's no use like this. He began stroking the unicorn's head, and had to turn away in order to hide the tears in his eyes. By stroking it, he had found out how smooth and soft its coat was, and he had seen a near view of its eye, now quickly fading, and this had brought the tragedy home to him. Well, it's dead now anyway, said Gareth for the third time. We had better take it home. We managed to catch one, said Gawain, the wonder of their achievement beginning to dawn on him. It was a brute, said Agravain. We caught it. Sir Grummore didn't catch one, but we did. Gawain had forgotten about his sorrow for the unicorn. He began to dance round it, waving his boar spear and uttering horrible shrieks. Gawain caught a unicorn, he chanted. A unicorn, a unicorn. Gawain caught a unicorn on a cold and frosty morning. We must have a gralloch, said Gareth. We must do the whole thing properly, and cut its insides out and sling it over a pony and take it home to the castle like proper hunters. And then will she be pleased. She will say, Odds bodkins, but my sons are of mickle might. We shall be allowed to be like Sir Grummore and Sir Pellinore. Everything will be all right. Hooray! Only how do you do a gralloch? You cut out its guts, said Agravain. Gareth got up and began to go away into the heather. He said, I don't want to help cut him. Do you, Meg? Meg, who was feeling ill inside herself, made no answer. Gareth untied her hair, and suddenly she was off, running for all she was worth away from the tragedy toward the castle. Gareth ran after her. Meg! Meg! He called. Wait for me, don't run! But Meg continued to run as swiftly as an antelope, with her little bare feet twinkling behind her, and Gareth gave up. He flung himself down in the heather and began to cry in earnest. He did not know why. At the gralloch, the 3 remaining huntsmen were in trouble. They had begun to slit away the skin of the belly, but they did not know how to do it properly, so they had perforated the intestines. Everything had begun to be smelly and horrible, and the once beautiful animal was now spoiled and repulsive. All 3 of them loved the unicorn in their various ways, Agravain in the most twisted way, and proportionally they became responsible for spoiling its beauty, so they began to hate it for their own guilt. Gawain particularly began to hate the body. He hated it for being dead, for having been beautiful, for making him feel a beast. He had loved it and helped to trap it, so now there was nothing to be done except to vent his shame and hatred of himself upon the corpse. He kicked and cut, and wished to cry too. We shan't ever get it done, he panted stupidly. How can we ever carry it down, even if we do manage the gralloch? But we must, said Gareth. We must. If we don't, what will be the good? We must take it home. We can't carry it. We haven't got a pony. At a gralloch they sling the beast over a pony. We must cut its head off, said Agravain. We must cut its head off somehow and carry that. It would be enough if we took the head. We could carry it between us. So they set to work, hating their work, at the horrid business of hacking off its head. Gareth stopped crying in the heather. He rolled over on his back, and immediately he was looking straight up into the sky. The clouds which were sailing majestically across its endless depths made him feel giddy. He thought, how far is it to that cloud? A mile? And the one above it, 2 miles? And beyond that, a mile, and a million miles, all in the empty blue? Perhaps they will fall off the earth now, supposing the earth is upside down, and I shall go sailing and sailing away. I shall try to catch hold of the clouds as I pass them, but they won't stop me. Where shall I go? This thought made Gareth feel quite sick, and, as he was also feeling ashamed of himself for running away from the gralloch, he became uncomfortable all over. In these circumstances, the only thing to do was to abandon the place in which he was feeling uncomfortable, in the hope of leaving his discomfort behind him. He got up and went back to the others. Hello, said Gawain. Did you catch her? No, she got away to the castle. I hope she won't tell anybody, said Gareth. It's got to be a surprise or it's no good. The 3 butchers were daubed all over with sweat and blood, and they were absolutely miserable. Agravain had been sick twice, yet they continued in their labor. Gareth helped them. It's no good stopping now, said Gawain. Think how good it will be if we can take it to our mother. She'll probably come upstairs to say good-night to us if we can take her a unicorn. She will laugh and say we are clever. Thus encouraging one another with hopes of great reward, the 4 boys struggled to sever the grisly spine. When it was off, it was too heavy to carry. They got themselves in a filthy mess trying to lift it. Then Gawain suggested it had better be dragged along with rope. There was no rope. "We could drag it by the horn," said Gareth. "At any rate, we could drag and push it like that as long as it was downhill." Only one of them at a time could get a good hold of the horn, so they took it in turns to do the hauling while the others pushed behind. When the head got snagged on a heather root or a drain, it was heavy for them, even this way, so that they had to stop every 20 yards or so to change over. "When we get to the castle," panted Gawain, "we will prop it up in the seat in the rose garden. Our mother is bound to walk past there when she goes for a walk before supper. Then we will stand in front of it until she is ready, and all suddenly step back at once, and there she will be." "She will be surprised," said Gareth. But when they'd at last got it down from the sloping ground, there was another hitch. They found that it was no longer possible to drag it on the flat land, as the horn did not give enough purchase. In this emergency, for it was getting near supper time, Gareth voluntarily ran ahead to fetch a rope. The rope was tied round what remained of the head, and thus at last, with the eyes ruined, flesh bruised, and separating from the bones, the muddy, bloody, heather-mangled exhibit was conveyed on its last stage to the herb garden. They heaved it to the seat and arranged its mane as well as they could. Gareth particularly tried to prop it up so that it would give a little idea of the beauty which he remembered. The magic queen came down punctually on her walk, conversing mysteriously with Sir Grummore. She did not notice her 4 sons lined up in front of the seat. They stood respectfully in a row, incredibly dirty, incredibly excited, their small breasts beating with hope. "Now!" cried Gawain, and they stood aside. Queen Morgoth did not see the unicorn. Her eyes were busy elsewhere, seeing into the roots of things, with Sir Grummore as she passed by. "Mother!" cried Gareth in a strange voice, and he ran after her, plucking at her skirt. "Yes, dear, what do you want?" "Oh, Mother, we have got you a unicorn." "How amusing they are, Sir Grummore, are they not? Well, darlings, you must run along now and ask your nanny for your milk." "But, Mummy!" Yes, darling," she said crossly, "another time." And the queen passed along with Sir Grummore, confusing him about carnations. She had not noticed that her children's clothes were ruined, had not even scolded them about that. And that is the end of chapter 12.